I lied to you when I said the next step was to put the belt on. I've decided instead to put a CHAPE on this scabbard. So we're going to start with a cardboard template because cardboard kind of bends like brass. So we have to figure out kind of what size of brass we're going to put on here. So let's just cut out a piece. So we're going to do just a simple brass sheet. We'll just keep working this cardboard. Just to get a rough idea of the size of brass sheet we need. So I'm going to go cut out a piece of brass based upon this template, and then we'll get started. I don't want you to get too bent out of shape over scabbard shapes. We've seen a lot of really beautiful shapes on modern sword reproductions, and they're very expensive to buy, but you can make your own historically correct medieval scabbard with just a sheet of brass. You fold it over around the end of the scabbard, overlap it. You can solder it. You don't even have to solder it. A lot of the medieval shapes were not even soldered. And then the ends are just folded over. I mean, look at this medieval shape. It's really bad. Now consider this quintessential medieval shape. It's just a sheet of brass that was wrapped around the end of the scabbard and soldered closed. The tip of the shape was then cut at right angles, and the flaps were folded over. First thing we're going to do is heat this brass sheet up to cherry red and then quench it in water to make it dead soft. This won't take very long. I've got a blown air ribbon forge, so let's fire up this baby. Get the blower going. Turn on the gas. This won't take very long to get this hot. Let's quench it. Ooh, I kind of burned it, but it's dead soft now. All right, let's go shape it. We've got the brass annealed, so let's go ahead and finalize the shape. We're going to fold down this end, so we want to leave a little bit of like a 1/2 inch. So that's looking about right. So now we'll mark where we're going to cut this thing. So we're going to cut here, here, that's where. So let's go take this apart and cut it and try again. Alright, I pounded it flat again. That has the effect of work hardening it, but oh well, we'll deal with it. So let's bend this back around. I can already tell it's getting harder to work with. Alright, 3rd time's the charm, right? That's looking better. I've got a mandrel. We'll take this over to the mandrel and round it out a little bit better. Alright, let's take it back to the scabbard. What do they say? 4th time's the charm? Eventually, we're going to mount this brass ball, so I've got to get this tightened up a bit more down here. And I think I'm going to have to cut it again. Let's just hold off on cutting. Let me just tighten this up. So I think I need to tighten that up some more. Yeah, we're going to have to cut it. So I'm going to cut it again, because I got lots of brass down here at the end. I got to get this pretty small to get this ball on the end. So let's go cut this again. What do they say? 5th time's the charm? That should be pretty good, huh? Alright, so next we have to solder this. Like I say, I'm not going to worry about this because we're going to process this in. I think I'm going to put some dags or something on here, and we're eventually going to cut slits, vertical slits, fold the edges over, put the ball on there and solder the ball in place. I'm terrible at soldering, so here's how I do it. I pre-position the solder. So what I do is we're going to open this up. Remember, I've got that scribe line. And what I do is I polish this edge, degrease it, flux it, and then I'll add solder along the edge. Kind of pre-position the solder. Then I'll buff it out so there's only a very thin layer of solder remaining. I'll polish it again, degrease, flux. Then I'll clamp this together, and then I'll just apply heat until I see the solder liquefy in the joint. And for me, that reduces the amount of cleanup that I have to do later on, because I suck so bad at soldering. All right, next we're going to degrease it and flux it and put some solder down. I just used rubbing alcohol. I plan on doing quite a bit of soldering on this, so I'm going to use the highest temperature solder I have, which is actually this 38101, to hold the CHAPE together. And later when I do other soldering, like the ball on the end, I'll go to a lower temperature solder. But for now, we're going to start with the highest temperature. Apply some flux. I just use this little butane torch. It seems to get hot enough for most of the solder work that I do. All right, let's put some solder down on here. It's probably way too much, but we're going to clean this up. Spread it out. All right. Now we're going to polish this down because there's way too much solder on here. We'll sand it down until there's just a very thin layer of solder. We'll clean it up, degrease it, polish it. Okay, this is ready for soldering. So I sanded down the clumps of solder that I placed, buffed it out real good, degreased it, put a bunch of flux in the joint, went back to the scabbard and the mandrel and got it to the right position. Now what we're going to do is clamp it and then heat it, and when you see liquid solder start to appear in the joint, then you stop heating, let it cool, and you'll have a soldered CHAPE. Here we go. These clamps act like heat sinks, so you gotta heat a little bit more. There we go. Let that cool, and we'll see how well we did. We were successful. I want you to notice there's no mess to clean up. There's no solder drips that we gotta clean up. That's why I do it this way. I don't have to screw with all that mess that I always make. So next we'll get on to putting the ball on the end. So the next step I did was I just made some cuts in the top, and we're going to fold. You can't just solder the ball on top. There's not enough surface area. So what we're going to do is we're going to fold these down and make like a little platform for the ball to sit on. We'll fill that little platform with solder. Sometimes you just got to knock off the high points. I've got the ball settled, fit well on this, so now we're going to solder the ball on using the same method that we used before, except this time I'm going to have to submerge. I'm not going to take any chances. Because this ball is so big, it's going to be a big heat sink. I'm going to have to heat it up pretty big. I'm going to submerge this in a water bath so that I don't melt out this seam here. The ball's sitting on top of solder, and as soon as I see the ball drop, it means the solder's melted. There we go. A little more heat. Stop. Here's where we're at now. We still have a lot of work to do, but you know, for a little amount of work, it's not going to look too bad at all. I think I'm going to do the twisted wire wrap around the CHAPE and be done with all the soldering, and after that it's going to be all file work and polishing. So I drew this line. That's where I'm going to put the twisted wire wrap. So I've got this wire. Looks like 16 gauge. Well, that's looking pretty good, isn't it? I guess the key is to keep it even twists. I measured it with a string. I need 3 3/4 inch long piece. So I took 2 6-inch pieces of wire. Hopefully I think this will get me the length that I need. Oh, now it's getting hard to twist. Just barely. We'll cut this. And that should get me what I need. Boy, that was a pain in the ass. Yeah, trying to solder while keeping the whole thing from falling apart and blowing out all your other solders. You basically got to clamp everything together, even the stuff you've already soldered. You just got to still keep it all clamped up. Use as much water bath and cooling as you can. But there's where we're at now. I'm going to get on to some file work. I've got the dags cut out. Now I'm going to take the file and hope I don't screw it up. I thought maybe I'd put a window in here, but I think I'm going to quit while I'm ahead because I don't want to screw this up. So it's going into some copper pickling brine. It's vinegar and salt. We'll let it sit there for a while, and then I'll try to polish it up later. Well, the CHAPE is finished.